Breaker Crunchers, welcome to a world where the epic voice guy, John Bailey, is talking to me, Sam, the movie mechanic. I am joined today by the voice of Honest Trailers, Optimus Prime, and of course, all the additional voices of every show you've ever seen. And uh, Mr. John Bailey, welcome to Couch Crunchers.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming on. I have been following Honest Trailers for a long time. I still remember the original voice guy. And
there was a couple of voices, but there was one main guy.
Yeah, and he went into the military, and then we all fell in love.
Well, he was already in the military. He got called back to active service, and that's where I came in. I think originally they told him that he would come back, like once he got back out of service, and then they didn't.
Yeah, you impressed the pants off him, I think.
I was just doing a thing.
Oh man, but your voice has become so ingrained in that bit that I don't think I think it'd be really tough to see you go from Honest Trailers now.
Yeah, well, I was doing a lot of pro work before Honest Trailers came along. It was just one of those. In fact, I didn't even consider it a voiceover job at first. I was just like, this might be a good way to grow my channel because I noticed that they had a lot more followers and views than I did. So I'm like, well, they're like, yeah, we can promote you, and that never really happened. I think I got promoted like once. But that's not to say that other good jobs did not come from it. For a long time, I just kind of try to keep it on the YouTube side of things and not on the professional side of things, because I would go and do a real audition or a real session. And they're like, why do you sound familiar? And I'm like, oh, well, I did this thing online called Honest Trailers. And like, oh, so you're not a real voice guy, you're just a YouTube voice guy. And I'm like, I didn't like that.
Oh yeah. So they actually they kind of dunked on you because of Honest Trailers.
Yeah, it was kind of counterproductive at the beginning. So, but when the Deadpool Honest Trailer just kind of exploded, it kind of pushed Honest Trailers into the mainstream. And then once it was cool to get the internet voice guy, and then they realized like, oh, he's not an internet voice guy, he's got a 12-year career. Oh, there you go.
One of my favorite videos I've seen you in was done by break.com. Yep. When you were following folks around. Go ahead.
The now defunct break.com.
Yeah. But it was a long time ago.
Sure who owns it now? I have no idea.
It was a long time ago. You're running around Hollywood, like doing in real time movie trailers for folks just walking around town.
Yeah.
How much of that was fed to you by the guys at Break, and how much of that was just you off the cuff?
The stuff that wasn't very funny was them, and the stuff that was awesome was me.
One of my favorites is there's a guy walking around. He's got these like spiked shoulder pads, and he's got no shirt on, and you're like, Shao Kahn is now doing porn.
Yeah, that was me. So what happened was initially we did this in San Diego at Comic-Con. And no, I take that back. Yeah, no, it was San Diego Comic-Con first, and it was WonderCon Anaheim later, or FitCon. So the first one was at Comic-Con, and they were trying to feed me lines through a headpiece, which we did that for the first 3 or 4 of them. There was like a headpiece. Problem was those little expensive earpiece deals have batteries that die like 5 minutes after you turn them on. So, and the guy that was feeding me lines that was in charge of all the pranks, he was feeding me way more information than I could process and then say back. He was like giving me 3-minute trailers. I'm like, these guys are walking by, like, I got 15 to 30 seconds to say something. And because of the connection issues and because it was too much information, I finally said, hey, would you mind if I try a few of my own? Some of them were still there. It's like once they kind of felt my rhythm out, he started shortening his suggestions. We got a new battery. But being because it was Comic-Con, there was so much wireless stuff going on, and there's so many other productions going. Everybody's stuff was interfering with everybody else's stuff. So yeah, you think there was technical problems for this Zoom call? Nothing compared to that first one. That first prank was a nightmare.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I've also been following a lot of your own social media. Your reels come up on my Instagram quite a lot, where you're doing
I'm glad they show up for somebody.
Yeah, they come up all the time. I'm surprised to hear you say that. That you feel like
it was growing pretty well. I was stuck at 44,000 followers for like 5 years. I just was not going anywhere. And I was pretty much disheartened with the whole Instagram thing. Same thing happened with Twitter. I feel like I just reach a certain point and then just stop. And that's just like, that's it. That's all you're going to get. And I'm like, why push so hard and put so much effort and time into all this if there's not going to be any kind of benefit? I mean, from a handful of hardcore fans that post on, follow, and like every single thing that, you know, and I appreciate them so much, but I don't have enough of them to make a difference. No offense. I personally appreciate all the support from them, but it was very stagnant for me. And then when they added Reels, it blew my Instagram up for a while, and I was getting like hundreds of thousands. In fact, one of my videos got 1 million views, and that's never happened on Instagram. And after about a month or so, the numbers would start. They finally moved for the first time in 5 years, and they got up to 52.7 or 8. No, 52.9, almost 53. And then something happened. I really don't know what, but the numbers just started slowly dropping back down, 100 a day, and now it's back down to 52.4, 52.3. Like I don't know what's going on with it. It's just it seems like when they added Reels, it was kind of a boost to kind of steal people away from TikTok. Oh, and now it's already back to the way it was with, if you want to be promoted, you have to, you know, be more famous or give us money to be featured. And I'm like, I'm not going to pay you guys to do something I'm doing for free in the first place. I'm sorry. But TikTok is still my highest thing. It's 400,000 followers over there. But all these platforms are not like they're headhunting me now. They all want me to come over to their platforms and stream videos. And I'm like, look, there's only so many hours in the day. You guys do know I have like a full-time voiceover career. To try to do all this other stuff is going to be a little hard. But I'm just trying to get the bills paid, really. So whatever I can throw out there. But mainly it's just impression videos and doing deepfake content with this app called Impressions app, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, one of my favorites is the watching Iron Man after a day, after a week, after a month.
One day after watching so and so, 1 week, 1 month. It was a lot of different versions of that already on TikTok, and most of it was like one day after seeing this or going this, or one day, you know. And I was like, well, I should incorporate impressions into this, and then as each day or time period passes, look more and more like that character, and then do the deep fake for the last one. And one of them really blew up for me, and it's not the one anybody would expect. It was Robert De Niro, which is not even a good impression of mine. But I guess I went it was such a big transformation from just me in a cartoon T-shirt, which is my normal attire, to me in a suit, doing the Robert De Niro with the deep fake on and everything. And people were like, "Holy crap, you got Robert De Niro for this video!" I'm like, "Really not? Really, just a suit and a bad wig and a deep fake." But that video did really well in Russia for some reason.
It did really well in Russia?
De Niro over there. Who knows?
I guess they like De Niro, man.
They like De Niro, I guess. Anyway, but when that one blew up, like every time I've done one, it does pretty well. So I think I've done Thor, I've done Iron Man, I've done Aviation Gin was one of my favorite ones. That one actually did pretty well. I did 1 week, one day after Aviation Gin, 1 week and 1 month. And 1 week was just me. The first one's always just me, just normal me. So that way they can kind of see the progression. The second one was the full-on Ryan Reynolds deepfake. Then the third one, I did the just friends version of Ryan Reynolds, where he's like in love with Jamie Palomino, and I've got my button, I'm lip syncing to "And I Swear." And that video just blew up.
Oh yeah, I have seen your Aviation Gin one. I thought it was really good.
There's just all the contents kind of has its main foundation, and it's kind of just has different offshoots, but it's all basically the same type content. But it does pretty well. It ranges. It'll do really well for a while, and then it'll just kind of, and then all of a sudden it'll be back. You know, it's so hard to predict the algorithms on these things, and you have to learn each platform has its own algorithm, and they're all different. So you have to just kind of figure out what works and what doesn't work.
And speaking of flexibility, your YouTube channel has so much content. It's such great variety of content. I was really getting into the Shia LaBeouf actual cannibal, and you were like flexing on all the voice actors with all the impressions you were doing in that one. You've got
I wanted to the whole concept for that video came from, there was already a video. Everybody knows the Shia LaBeouf actual cannibal thing. It was just a huge viral hit. But I discovered an app that allows you to animate actual images. And this was before I had an app that gave me access to deepfake technology. And I just thought it would be, I was listening to the songs. It popped up of all things. I was playing music in the car over my phone, I think it was either Spotify or, just one of those music streaming services. And the Shia LaBeouf, I had it on a comedy one, like Flight of the Conchords, Weird Al Yankovic, parody songs. And actual Cannibal Shia LaBeouf popped up. And I remember thinking the very first line sounded just like Orson Welles or Maurice LaMarche doing an Orson Welles impression, as the brain, but it had a very sound. You're walking in the woods. Yes. So, and I was like, it'd be really fun. So I texted Maurice and I was like, hey, do you guys, like, on your level, like the guys way up at the top, do you guys get offended or flattered by impressions by guys on my level? And we had a whole discussion about, studios using, other sound-alikes as leverage against the original voices to do things for less money and stuff. Like, so, okay, so I won't do that, but I can do Orson Welles, instead of the brain. So I did Orson Welles instead. And as I started doing it, I was realizing it'd be even funnier to change up the narrator of the song and not just do one, but do a whole bunch of them. So I would just add a different one in between all the Shia LaBeouf parts. But yeah, so it turned out to be it was a way more difficult task than I thought it was going to be to make that video. Unfortunately, because it took so much time to make and because it wasn't my song, I didn't really make squat from that. But it was very funny to watch. So sometimes I'll bite the bullet knowing good and well that I'm not going to get monetized for anything. I just think something's funny. I'll just put it out there just to put it out there. But I think that having too much different stuff on my YouTube channel is what's hurt my YouTube channel. Not to mention YouTube itself has been just anti-small content creator. And I just cannot seem to get past. I get a new content ID or copyright strike like every other day on stuff that I posted years ago. And I'm like, fine, another one, whoop-de-doo. At this point, what can you do more to damage, like, making any money from you at all? So if I post the same video on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, the same exact video at the same exact time, Instagram and TikTok will get thousands of views, and days and weeks will go by and I'll maybe get 2,000 views total from YouTube. It's just not worth it. So it's my own, between Instagram TV and YouTube, that's basically my long form video format. So the way I normally do a content, because I'm not a professional cosplayer, I kind of makeshift a cosplay costume out of what I already own or what I got on sale at Spirit Halloween the day after Halloween is over or something like that. So I'll kind of makeshift a costume and then I let the app do all the work. And all I do is just improvise each voice. And I'll end up with 7 to 10 minutes worth of stuff. And then I'll do cut downs and then post, on smaller platforms, and then do one unedited version and put it up on the long form videos up on like IGTV and YouTube. But overall, YouTube they're anti-small creators. They got what they finally wanted. They wanted to be a big fancy TV movie network with their big fancy movie TV studios and their big fancy movie Hollywood actors. And they got what they want. And the rest of us just kind of don't matter anymore. The guys who put them on the map don't matter anymore.
Well, if it's any consolation, I don't subscribe to any of those big TV movie actors.
I appreciate it. I don't either. I do follow Ryan Reynolds because his stuff is actually funny. I think he's about the only one that I follow. This just in. Breaking news.
Yeah, it's my receptionist.
The election results have finally come in.
Yeah. Here we go. And
it's only
Kanye West.
And we finally know who's president.
It's Kanye. Congratulations.
I think I shouldn't have voted for JoJo.
Did you vote for JoJo? I
could not vote for either one of the main candidates. They're both freaking. I'm not going to say it.
You know what?
It's not
you know what? You'd fit really well into my dodgeball league.
I can't go with either one of those parties, man. I certainly don't want Trump to win. So if I had to pick between the two of them, I hope Biden wins, but I still couldn't vote for him. But there was a lot of other important elections that were local that I did need to vote for. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to vote as closely as I believe, even though that at least it's not giving a vote to somebody I don't want.
There you go, man. No one can ask you to do anything but vote your conscience. All right. We need to oh, you got something?
Sorry.
The real boss.
Yeah.
All right. Alrighty. I wanted to ask you about your Gemini Man trailer redone. You said
you're asking me about things that nobody ever asks me about because nobody ever watches my stuff.
what? What? Are you kidding me? I freaking love that.
Nobody ever asks me about my content. It's always about all the stuff that I work on, but isn't mine.
You're kidding.
So
You've got so much content on your YouTube
I do,
channel.
but nobody watches it. I get a couple thousand views, and I have 150,000 YouTube subscribers, and I get a couple thousand views. I barely get 1% of the views.
Well, consider me a fan.
I appreciate it. So
I have been watching all your stuff for a long time.
The way the Gemini Man thing came along is there was an app that showed up called Volocos or Voloco. I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's an auto tuning app that can do all kinds of crazy stuff with your voice. And at first I was thinking, okay, maybe I can make some cool Transformer stuff, or maybe I can make fun of, Cher's, Believe in Life After Love or whatever. And then I remembered the Gemini Man trailer, and I was remember that weird, because it resonated with me because they did the same thing for the trailer for Transformers 5. I don't know if you remember that or not. And Arlnauts kind of made fun of it. And Arlnauts is another YouTube channel that I've done voices for in the past. And I was like, it'd be really funny if I could figure out how to do that and then change all of the lyrics that they sing in the background of the Gemini Man trailer. And I thought it turned out really funny. Obviously, that's another one of the videos that I cannot monetize because I use a trailer to make fun of it. But I still think I just make things that I think are funny. And if hopefully somebody else out there like you that actually thinks it's funny too.
It was great.
Apparently
it was great content. You had the Fresh Prince. You had Fresh Prince lyrics going to it. But you kept adding in the little bits and pieces here and there, like the one with the beard and the one without the beard.
Exactly. One has a beard and one doesn't.
Yeah. But you said something in there that I think we need to re-examine. You said, at least it looks better than the Spy Pigeon movie with Tom Holland.
That's true. I wish I could go back and rephrase that now, because the movie wasn't actually half bad. It's just dumb that it's a pigeon. It's just a pigeon. The pigeon part of it is stupid. The rest of the movie's
So here's something funny. I actually was in one of the test audiences for Gemini Man. And there's this line where he says, you took a person and made him into another person. And I was like, isn't that just having kids? That's just having kids.
True. And I could have changed that line for the pigeon movie. Like, you took a person and changed him into a pigeon. If only I could have redone that part too. If I had more time, or I had a free intern to just make my ideas for me and just teach them how to do this stuff, I would have totally just taken, because I could take screenshots of I'm going to try this out. I don't know how well this is going to work, but I'm planning on doing more movie trailer parodies, but making them where I can actually monetize them. So I'm not doing them for free anymore. So I want to take two different movies that have nothing to do with each other and mash them together and make something funny out of it. And I think if I took screen grabs of the trailer themselves and then animate the actor, or green screen the background of the trailer and then put me in front of it with maybe a deep fake on something where I can change it enough where it's no longer their trailer. I've added my own copyright free music, and I'm doing all the lines, but the basic premise of the trailer or whatever is the same. I think it would be really funny, but it takes so much freaking time. And like I said, I have a full-time voiceover career, and making social media content I do in my spare time, which is probably why most of my stuff's kind of just meh and not just whoa, because I don't have the time to make it whoa. I just have the time to make it meh.
No, that's so true. And feel free to borrow this idea, but Couch Crunchers, the podcast that I'm on, we do Comic-Con panels in our local Comic-Cons, and one of the ones we did was a choose your own adventure to kind of redo Thor: The Dark World. And if we had access to the deep fake stuff that you do, we could have really made it great. Instead, we ended up borrowing clips from like Bad Times at El Royale.
Yeah, see, when you just edit other stuff, you're instantly telling YouTube, like, we don't know any of this.
Right.
At least if I make it myself, I own it. But yeah.
We had a great time doing stuff like that. But I really did enjoy that Gemini Man trailer. Another one of your videos actually was a commercial, right? Mitsubishi test drive commercial.
Yeah, that's not my video. That's just a commercial I worked on.
Right, but that was hilarious too. I was wondering if you could maybe tell us, were they actors that they hired, or were those real test drives?
Okay, so the way it worked was there were actors hired to be fake customers but they had no idea that they were being that it was a prank video. So they weren't real, just people that were there to buy a car. They were actors, but they were not involved in the big twist. Was they're just supposed to be a customer in a car commercial. That's all they knew. The hard part for me was they introduced me to them before they started filming anything. It's like, and they introduced me as an employee. And it was like, anything you want to know about these cars, just ask him. And I didn't know nothing about any of the cars except for what I learned in the script when I memorized from the commercial. And I was still trying to memorize the script earlier that day, like all the way up until we actually filmed. So I pulled a Donald Trump every time somebody asked me. They're like, "What's the gas mileage?" The gas mileage is the best. All right, there's no better gas mileage than this vehicle. All right. Everything was like, "Oh, it's so great, it's so good, so good." Quite frankly, it's the best car ever. Everyone knows this. And they all fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. They had no idea who I was until I actually did the trailer. As soon as the music came on, and they were just like, "What?" Because they were probably so focused on being a good fake customer that they didn't know what was coming.
That's a spectacular bit. I wish I could have been a part of it, because I would love to have my test drive put to an epic voice trailer.
I'm sure a lot of people will, but that takes a lot more time than I have
Yeah.
to do. Maybe for $100 a ride or something. I don't know.
Maybe you put out an app that does the epic voice trailer, so you have it on your phone.
And then they won't need me anymore. They'll just use the app.
Ah, that's true.
I've already heard people that are using AI epic voice to make their own videos, and it sounds really bad the way they cut it together. So I still have job security for a little bit longer, at least.
Well, that's good.
Before Skynet takes over.
Yeah. Next, tell me about the series, The Day I Became Optimus Prime.
That's not really a series. That was just a one video thing. So I'm trying to do a shortened version of this story. So I had been going to the Hasbro booth at Comic-Con every single year, trying to make some kind of headway, kind of trying to get them to where they knew who I was, what I did. So I wasn't just some other nerd there looking for toys, because they actually do send a lot of their actual toy designers to Comic-Con at the panels. In fact, the president always goes. He usually does the great big panels. He's like one of the main guys. So there's a lot of people there that are very high up in the Hasbro chain. And I knew that if I came by there enough times, eventually something would happen. That was my hope. And I was there at the moment while Machinima was there filming, because Combiner Wars was about to come out, or at least it had been announced. And they were filming, in the Hasbro area. And I was like, "Oh, I know you guys. I'm John Bailey. I do the voice of Honest Trailer for." And he's like, "Oh yeah, we know exactly who you are." And he's like, "We didn't know you were a Transformers fan." And I explained a little bit to him, did some Optimus Prime voice for him. And they're like, "Holy crap, would you be willing to talk with our guys?" And we exchanged business cards. And so they contacted me up without even having to audition me. They just said, "We want you to be the voice of Optimus Prime for the Combiner Wars series." And so that was literally the day that I got to be Optimus Prime, which was like huge for me. And as soon as they got a budget, they recast me with the original voice, which I personally, as a fan, I was fine with. But what they told me at the end of that session was like, Hasbro was really Are we back?
Yeah.
I can't see you. Just a black screen.
Oh no.
Ruh-roh.
I've got your voice.
I can see me, but I can't see you.
Oh man. Do you want to just go ahead and tell us about what Hasbro told you? That's where I lost you. It's Hasbro.
Give me just a second. I'm gonna try to reset my phone here. There we go. All right. Well, at least I can see me.
I can see
maybe
you.
It might be my YouTube kit. Oh, you can see me. Okay.
Yeah.
So they told me at the end of that session, they said, "Look, there's a lot of stuff that is just too small for Peter to do, or he just doesn't have the time, or just won't for whatever reason. We would love to do more with you being our go-to like Optimus Prime voice. We've been looking for somebody that could do that for a long time for a lot of these. Usually it's just a sizzle reel for Walmart because they're putting out a new line of toys or something, and they want to have a video specifically for Walmart employees that nobody else ever sees. And a lot of the stuff, again, Peter Cullen's like I'm not going to do that because he has a certain rate that he wants to get paid for his work, and if it doesn't meet that rate, he's not going to do it. And as long as he's that way, that's a way for me to make sure that my kids get fed. So.
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
sponges are all coming off the wall today. It's freaky.
Oh no.
Yeah. Anyway, that's probably because it got so hot this summer. All the glue melted off. So that led to doing sizzle reels and some commercials and being the voice of some what was it? Oh, the FAO Schwartz and Shores. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. The big New York toy store. There's an 8-foot Optimus Prime statue. They added on a whole Transformers wing, and I'm the voice inside that statue. So it's interactive. You walk up to it and you'll hear me as Optimus Prime, like talking to you. So really cool little stuff that here and there all over the place. I was the voice in the toy commercials. Like I was actually Optimus Prime in the commercials. Did Optimus Prime for the Build-A-Bear commercial. So there's a lot of little stuff out there. And hey, it's still being Optimus Prime for something. It's cool with me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. So you're on the hustle level of voice acting.
Oh, I've been at the hustle level for about a decade. You can't afford to stop hustling in this job. No, even the top guys, like they all may act like they're cool and they got their stuff together, but they are just as worried about the next job as everybody else is. They have to keep auditioning just like everybody else does. They can't just ride the residual wave and just expect jobs to come their way. They will. Like once you reach a certain level, jobs will just come your way, but you can't expect it to be that way. You have to always be grinding and working. And so, I mean, if I hadn't done that job, then I never would have added what I did for that show onto my demo. And that demo was what led me to filling in for Peter Cullen in the Bumblebee movie. There's been a little negative press about this because of a convention that happened before lockdown happened. And some negative things were said on the other side of things, but I didn't come in there to steal Peter Cullen's job. A lot of people who work in this business know that ADR is a totally normal way to do a film. Anytime you go to see a screening, I'm sure you mentioned that you saw a screening of a movie earlier. You notice a lot of the voices are not the final version of the voices. That's a normal job for a voice actor to do. And Peter himself has done plenty of that back in the day. He worked in Gremlins. He did ADR for Gremlins, ADR for Predator. A lot of movies he's done background voice stuff for. So this shouldn't be a surprise. It's just because Bumblebee had a tenth of the budget as Last Night did. So they couldn't afford to get Peter Cullen his whatever $1 bajillion per session for a Bumblebee movie because it had such a small budget. And when I doubled and triple checked, sure that he didn't want to have nothing to do with it. When he said, look, I'm not working for scale, I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. That led me to getting in front of Paramount. And at the time I did not know it, but it was Travis Knight himself. And that led to me being Soundwave and Shockwave in the Bumblebee movie, doing the final voices for those characters. So I got to do a little bit of both. I got to do Optimus Prime's voice for a little bit, even though it was replaced. And then I got to be two of my two favorite characters in the final version of the film. That was like my biggest job to date so far. So that was really cool. You never really know where you're going to end up when you do this job.
Yeah, it seems like when you're hustling, you go where the jobs take you. You fight for everything you can get.
Well, I do. I turn some jobs down. Like there's some I won't do, certain kinds of anime, if you know what I mean. There's certain types of commercials that I won't do. I try to avoid lottery jobs. I try to avoid alcohol commercials unless they like directly want to book me. But I don't audition for them. I don't actively pursue them. And I feel like that's that line in the sand where it's like my personal faith and moral code is like, I'm not going to do that. And my agents are pretty cool about it. They just forget a lot. They'll keep sending me like, hey, here's another. I'm like, here's another reminder that I don't do that job. So it's not just one of those where you take every single thing you can get, because I feel like that could have a negative impact. I feel like you should have some kind of personal code that you go by, which is some kind of jobs you just won't do. And some of the jobs are not because I have some kind of moral dilemma with it. Sometimes I just know I can't do it. Like, I'm sorry, but I cannot do that voice. I'm willing to give anything a try, but that doesn't mean I know I can do it. I'll give it a shot. But once it's like, oh yeah, that's not going to happen. I've actually argued with my manager a couple of times because I really think you could do this voice. I'm like, I really know I can't. I would love to. That'd be awesome, but I know I cannot.
Well, one of the other bits, I guess, is your Optimus Prime toy reviews. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Prime Reviews has been gone for a long time, but it's cool that I'm doing this interview because I'm bringing Prime Reviews back this month.
Oh,
I
great.
plan on selling off the majority of my collection, not all of it. There's some of it I'm going to keep for my kids for their like inheritance. If I can keep them from breaking it before then, because they're just like, must play with it now. Like some things aren't made for playing with. Some of these are made to keep safe, so they'll be worth more money later on down the road. So anyways, the idea is that Optimus Prime will review a figure. I've had to figure out a better way to do it, because in the olden days, I just thought it would be funny to have Optimus Prime be this very egotistical, like, I love me and nobody else. Like, he makes fun of Megatron toys. He's always saying that Bumblebee's a show stealing glory hog, and he's got too many figures made of him, and what he's not, no toy is ever as cool as an Optimus Prime toy. No matter how bad the Optimus Prime toy is, it's still the best Optimus Prime toy. But then I realized, now that I'm working for Hasbro, I have to be very careful what I say, because you don't want to say, even if it's in fun or as a joke, you don't want to say anything negative about the product that your company that's hiring you to do voices for is selling. So I've had to rethink how I'm going to do that. And I think I can just put a positive spin on every toy, but just kind of add that whole, it's still not as good as Optimus Prime toy, but it's pretty awesome.
You're right.
And I plan on, like, at the end of every video saying, and if you'd like this toy that Optimus Prime himself has reviewed, along with some free swag, I'm going to throw in some Transformers trading card games that's been discontinued. So those cards are probably worth a little bit more now than they were. An autographed exclusive Comic-Con print, which I didn't have to give out any this year because I didn't have any convention appearances because of quarantine. And my personal really cool business card that looks like a credit card. So you get a bunch of freebies, and I'm selling it. I haven't really made up my mind 100% what I'm selling each thing for. Obviously, the smaller will be less and bigger will be more, but I plan on selling them over the amount to cover shipping costs, and I'm planning on giving all that money. I haven't figured out how yet, but I'm giving all that money to the poor. Whether I do that through the church or Feed the Hungry programs or whatever I can figure out, but that's the 100% of the profits is going to helping out people who don't have any money. So you're the first person I've announced this to, by the way.
There you go. Couch Crunchers exclusive, everybody. John Bailey bringing back Prime Reviews for
and
charity.
There's not just Transformer stuff for sale. There's some other things for sale too, but for a charity drive.
Well, good for you, sir. I appreciate you doing that. I was going to say the Optimus Prime persona that you've got in those Prime Reviews reminds me a lot of like Space Ghost, Coast to Coast.
I actually stole it from Barney Stinson, the Neil Patrick Harris's character from How I Met Your Mother.
Ah, gotcha. That makes a lot more sense.
He's just not nearly as sexist or insulting or drunk.
Oh, that's great, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Now, when we had Rob Paulson on, he did some Pinky and the Brain jokes for us.
That's all Rob did was Pinky and the Brain. He couldn't believe
he did Carl. He did Carl Weezer.
I can't believe he wouldn't do Carl.
But I was wondering if there's any way we could get you to give us some epic movie lines, or even maybe Optimus Prime asking Vince Vaughn to do the dishes or something from The Breakup.
Geez, I try to forget The Breakup.
Yeah, terrible movie.
One man was late for his podcast interview. One other man would talk to him about things that he worked on that nobody else knew of. Ginger Beer, the podcast, rated PG-13, starts Friday in theaters everywhere.
Oh, that was awesome. I love that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I know you got to get going, so we're gonna end it here. But John Bailey, thank you so much for coming on, taking the time. And everyone needs to go see Epic Voice Guy on YouTube. Follow John Bailey on Instagram. Follow him on TikTok. Let's get those dollars in the door. He's got 4 kids
Twitter,
to feed,
and
man.
That's pretty much it.
He's got 4 kids
I'm
to
also
feed.
on this is a good one for you to get on. This is an app that's strictly for trailer reactions, movie and TV show reviews, and it's called Stardust. And I've been on it for about a year, but it's still barely out of beta. But yeah, it gives you 30 seconds to review and talk about whatever new trailers are out, whatever new show this dropped, whatever new movie just came out. And I tend to do a lot of the same stuff that I do on my other platforms. I have actors, talking about their own movies or whatever. So it's a pretty fun platform over there as well. And I'm Epic Voice Guy on everything: Stardust, TikTok, Twitter, everything is Epic Voice Guy. I managed to get one brand name to rule them all.
Yeah. Hey, you do it works, man, and you've got it. So, Couch Crunchers audience is going to be heading your way, and for Couch Crunchers, we're going to sign off. But please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and keep on geeking on.